Hello friends, my name is Alex and welcome to my top reads of 2022 video. I am really excited to talk to you guys today about the best books that I read in the year 2022. I read 100 books in the year 2022, and today I have 7 that I want to talk to you about that I picked out as like my favorite books of the year. Now, if you look at my Goodreads, these might not actually be the same books that I rated the highest in 2022. My reading tastes have changed and evolved a lot throughout this year. And so the way that I chose these books was I just looked through everything that I read in 2022 and picked what still stood out to me as favorites. So there are others on my Goodreads that I have rated 5 stars, maybe even rated higher than some of these books, but these were the ones that as I was going through now, it's like, yes, those are my favorites. Those are the ones that like I still remember, I still want to talk about. So that's how I picked these out. They're not going to be in like a very specific order. However, towards the end, I do have my like absolute favorites. So I'll let you know as we go through. When we get there, I also just wanted to briefly, before we dive in, say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. 2022 was my first couple of months on BookTube, and I recently hit 100 subscribers, which was my goal for the year. I hit it just before Christmas. So thank you so much to anyone who has subscribed to my channel. I am so appreciative that you are here, that you are interested in my content. If you have not yet subscribed and would like to, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you join this community, get to know you. Please comment down below your favorite reads of 2022 so that we can chat about them. I just love talking about people's favorite books. It's my favorite thing ever. So let's get into this. I am going to share with you my 7 absolute top favorite reads of 2022, starting with the queen herself, Sarah J. Maas, Queen of Shadows. So 2022 was my first time reading through the Throne of Glass series, and although I enjoyed the entire series, this book, Queen of Shadows, is definitely my #1 from the series, my absolute favorite. It just had so much action, so many character relationships developing that I was really enjoying. We met some new characters, some of my favorite characters in this book, and oh my gosh, that ending, you guys. So absolutely one of my standout favorites, definitely my favorite Sarah J. Maas book that I have read to date. I have yet to read the Crescent City series though, so who knows, maybe that'll be a 2023 favorite. We will have to see. If you have not yet read the Throne of Glass series, it is quite difficult to explain, but I will talk to you about the first book, which is Throne of Glass. In this book, we follow Selena Sardathian, who is a very skilled assassin. However, she has ended up in prison. And in the beginning of the book, when we meet her, she is being released from this prison camp that she's been in by the Crown Prince of Adarlan and his royal guard. They are taking her back to the castle because she is going to compete in a competition to become the king's assassin. So we follow her adventures, the competition, and as things unfold, this series becomes so much more than what happens in that first book. And even the second book, I really feel that the third book, which is the one that comes before this one, is where the like real meat of the story begins. And that is why I love this one so much, is we are in that like thick of the story. It just has all those like high stakes fantasy adventure elements that I really want in a book. So this series, if you are looking for just an action-packed high fantasy series with amazing characters, this is such a good one. It is a young adult, however, later on in the series, it does start to lean new adult, so be warned of that before you get going. The next book that I want to share with you guys that was another favorite of mine from 2022 is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I am a huge Adrienne Young fan. If you have been around my channel at all, you probably know that. I have read almost all of her books, but Spells for Forgetting is her adult debut novel. This is a magical realism, romance, mystery, contemporary Honestly, it has all the things. It's really hard to categorize in a specific genre because there is so many different things going on in it, and I think that's part of why I loved it so much. It kind of incorporates all of these genres that I am really interested in. I think I may have mentioned this in another video, but this book gives me the vibes of the song Ivy by Taylor Swift, which is my all-time favorite Taylor Swift song. And to find a book that gives me those folk-tale-y, romance, angsty, just gorgeous, wonderful vibes, I am totally obsessed. This book, we follow a woman named Emery who lives on this like slightly magical island. We start the book with a character named August. He is returning to the island for the first time in 14 years because on the night of his high school graduation, he was accused of murdering his girlfriend Emery's best friend. And so he's returning. The two have not seen each other in 14 years, and there are some secrets on the island that are going to start to unravel when he comes back for the first time. So I just loved all the mystery, the intrigue, the character relationships in this story. There were some things that were not absolutely perfect about this book, but I still enjoyed the experience so much, and that's why I wanted to include it as one of my favorite reads of the year. I absolutely blew through this book. Adrienne Young's prose is the most gorgeous, easy to read prose. She just really knows how to set the scene, make you feel like you are immersed in the world, and the island, Saoirse, just feels like its own character in this story, which is just one of her most incredible skills as an author, and I am a forever fan of hers. Next up, we have another contemporary with those mystery vibes, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is another one that I have talked about quite a bit on the channel. I did a whole vlog annotating and reading this book, and the thing that I love about this story is absolutely the characters. The way that M.L. Rio can write a complex, dynamic character and just the inner workings of the human mind, the human heart is astounding. It is so good, and I just absolutely adored this book. This is a kind of dark academia mystery. We are following a group of theater students who are in their last year at this very prestigious theater school. They are studying the tragedies of Shakespeare, and at the same time, they are living out some of their own very tragic events in real life. And so we get that parallel throughout the story with the Shakespeare. So if you're not a fan of Shakespeare, this one may not be for you. However, don't feel like you need to know a ton about Shakespeare because it is really well woven together that even if you don't know the stories, you are going to be just fine reading this book. We follow them through their school year, and we actually kind of get flash forwards into the future as well. 10 years in the future, our main character is being released from prison after his sentence for being accused of the things that happened during this book. However, the detective that put him in jail comes to meet him and does not believe that what they decided was the conclusion of the case was really what happened all those years ago. And so he is desperate to find out from our main character what really went down when these kids were in theater school. It is those character relationships, it is that insight into human nature that make this such a memorable read for me. Switching gears into a more lighthearted and fun read, we have Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck. Small Town Big Magic is a romance with fantasy vibes. I wouldn't call it a fantasy romance. We follow our main character, Emerson, who lives in this small town and absolutely adores her small town. She is a bookshop owner. She is on the Chamber of Commerce. She is so involved in her town. However, she has this rivalry with the town mayor, which ends up putting her in a situation where she's attacked by magical creatures. And suddenly Emerson discovers that she is actually a witch and has had her memory wiped and completely forgotten about her powers and her childhood, that all of her friends are also witches, and there is some dark magic that is threatening this town that she adores, and she and her friends are going to have to work together to try and stop this dark magic from overtaking and ruining their home. I really enjoyed this one. Romance is a newer genre to me, but I love the combination of romance with fantasy. This is also a closed door romance, which is my preference, so I really enjoyed that. The thing that I love the most about this is the humor and the Stars Hollow vibes that we get from this story. So the characters are not necessarily like Lorelai, Rory. However, the town itself just gives off the best Stars Hollow, small town, quirky characters vibes, and I absolutely adored it. It was super cozy and fun to read, and this had just my favorite type of humor. I really enjoyed the like witty, fun remarks in this. It just left me laughing, smiling. I had the best time reading this book and will definitely be reading the second one when it comes out in 2023. If you are a fantasy reader wanting to get into the romance genre, this is one that I would recommend because it does combine both genres really well. We are getting into my top 3, which I will say these are in order. These are my top 3 reads of 2022. These are just the absolute best books that I have read this entire year, and I am so excited to talk to you about them. The first one coming in 3rd place, I don't own a physical copy of. I am desperate to get one soon though, so you might see that in an upcoming book haul. This is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. I ended up picking this one up in December on a whim. I heard about it from another booktuber, Liv's Library, so thank you so much for that recommendation. I picked it up and am so freaking glad that I did. This book is a young adult / middle grade. Our main character is 14. It is a fantasy, it is cozy mystery, all the good things combined in this book. We follow our main character, Mona. She is a wizard. She has baking magic. She can make gingerbread men dance, and she loves her life living in her aunt's bakery, just doing her job. However, one morning she comes down into the bakery alone and discovers a young girl's dead body. And this spirals into Mona figuring out that the wizards in her world might be being hunted, and she is going to have to team up with an unlikely cast of characters to save herself and the other magic users in her city. I just loved the quirkiness of this story. Mona with her bread magic, and she's very like unsure of herself. She really doesn't think that her magic is good for anything, but we see her use her powers in such unique and interesting ways. She has a familiar that is a sourdough starter, which is such a fun time, such a unique twist, and I really enjoyed Mona's voice as well. If you have read the Deadly Education series by Naomi Novik, this is very similar to me. It gives off that same stream of consciousness writing style that I really enjoy reading, especially via audiobook. I listened to this on audiobook. It was such a fun time, and this is one that I think I will be coming back to over and over and over again as a comfort read. I think there is something about that like middle grade age that is just so comforting and cozy, but this story specifically, it had all of the right elements to keep it fast-paced and high stakes. Like there is war, there are things going on that are pretty intense, but it was still just like cozy and silly and fun, and I absolutely freaking adored it. If you are a fantasy reader and have not read this one yet, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher is a must read. It is absolutely incredible and one of my top favorites of 2022. Coming in 2nd place, we have Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This story is super close to my heart. I am a huge fan and so glad that I read Raybearer this year. Jordan Ifueko is actually a graduate of my college that I went to, which is just a super fun connection. And it is a Christian university. That is something that is really important to me, is my faith. And this story just incorporates those elements in such a subtle and beautiful way that I really enjoyed. So if you are someone who's interested in those type of themes, I definitely recommend it. However, if you're not religious, this is still a great read for you because they are very subtle undertones to the story. This story is about our main character, Tari Sai. She has been raised in kind of a secluded area just with her mother and their servants. She doesn't really know anyone else, but she has this deep bond with her mother. And as she grows up, her mother sends her off to the capital of their kingdom to compete in a competition to become a member of the Crown Prince's Council of 11. This is something that happens with every ruler. They choose council members that are actually connected by a psychic bond, and she wants her daughter to go and become one of these council members, and then she wants her to kill the prince. And so we follow Tarisai as she goes off to join this competition, get to know the prince, and all the while fighting this urge that she has to follow her mother's orders and commands. And so much comes out of this that was just so unexpected, so interesting and unique. I really, really loved the world building in this, the magic system. All of it is just so vivid and vibrant. My absolute favorite part of this is our main character, Tarisai. She is someone that I personally felt so connected to. I felt like I saw so much of myself in her and was really inspired by her as well. Like so much of who I want to be and just aspire to, which was really, really cool. I related to a lot of her internal struggles, and I wonder if she might also be an Enneagram 1, because that is what I am, and I just super felt connected to her as a main character. I highly, highly recommend this to any fan of young adult fantasy or adult fantasy. It really does have those like sweeping political epic fantasy vibes, but in a very accessible way, and this story is just one of my absolute favorites. It is really beautifully done, and I will read anything that Jordan I. Fuego writes in the future. You might call this cheating, but my last favorite, my very top favorite book that I want to talk to you guys about is actually a duology. It is both of the books, and that is The Elements of Cadence duology by Rebecca Ross, A River Enchanted, and A Fire Endless. I read both of these books this year and fell fully and completely in love with this world, with Rebecca Ross's writing, and our characters that we follow in this story. A River Enchanted is a Scottish-inspired folktale-esque story where we follow a bard, and he is called back to his home island, and it is a very magical place that there is a lot of connection to the spirits. A lot of the people on the island can perform magical abilities, and our main character's magical ability is his music. He is summoned home by his childhood rival, and she needs his help using his magic to help find these missing girls. They want to use his magic to summon the spirits of the island and ask them for help to find these children. This story has the most beautiful character relationships and romances that I have ever read. I fell madly in love with all of our characters, Jack and Adara, who are the bard and his childhood rival, but also Torin and Sidra, who are another set of main characters, Jack's family. There are just so many people that I just felt like they were real people. Like I knew them, like they were my friends, and I cared so much about their story, about what was going to happen to them. This book is just absolutely beautiful. Rebecca Ross's prose in this story is so lyrical and poetic. It just like flows and is the most stunning thing I have ever read. If you are looking for a fantasy story with just gorgeous, elegant prose, this is definitely one that I would recommend to you. These are probably my top favorite books right now, like of all time. I am fully obsessed. I will definitely be rereading these at some point, and Rebecca Ross is a favorite author of mine. I have read 2 of her other books as well and really enjoyed those, but if she comes out with any more adult books, I don't know what to do with myself, because these are so incredible and I just want to make everyone read them because they are my absolute favorite highlight reads of 2022. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that maybe you found some suggestions to add to your TBR, books that sound good to you. If you share any of the same favorites as me, please let me know in the comments. I want to talk about them so badly because I'm obsessed with all of them. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.